Handmade signs at one National Park Service visitor center show the federal government is not fully back in business. But at some landmarks and monuments,
Martin Luther King will later say on it.
Park rangers return to duty.
This was the first day of restored operations. Tomorrow we'll see entire staffs back in.
Also on the job today, the message makers, shaping the next round of the border funding battle.
This gives a chance to the Democrats to prove whether or not they really do believe in border security and are willing to go against Nancy Pelosi, or whether or not they are so beholden to their leadership that they're never going to vote for a barrier on the southern border.
Today, a noteworthy signal from House Democratic leadership. Maybe yes to a fence.
Now, in the past, we have supported, as you know, enhanced fencing, and I think that's something that's reasonable that should be on the table. But I don't want to get out ahead of the process.
That process belongs to a bipartisan negotiating team that includes Missouri Republican Roy Blunt.
Let's find solutions. Let's not continue to disappoint the people we work for by not showing the ability to work together.
Republican Marco Rubio says President Trump should not resort to declaring a national emergency to build the wall.
You could very well wind up in sort of a theatric victory at the front end and then not getting it done. I think the best way to do it is to have a law passed that funds border security so we know it's going to happen.
Declaring a national emergency does carry risk, likely a court challenge, and lawmakers oppose it. White House officials say the president would prefer not to use that power, but his defenders also argue that President Trump should ultimately be judged, success or failure, at the end of this process, and not while negotiations are still underway.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.